Welcome, fellow students of history. Get ready, because today we are cracking open a truly fascinating ancient masterclass. We're exploring the hidden, celestial wisdom found within the Book of Jubilees. Now, you might also know this as the Little Genesis, and it's essentially a banned text that maps out the eternal, epic struggle between absolute divine perfection on one hand and chaotic human corruption on the other. It's the kind of text that completely reframes how we look at the very fabric of time, of law, and of creation itself.
So, here's how we're going to unroll these ancient scrolls in today's explainer. We'll start with the creation of the divine order, move into Enoch, time, and the early patriarchs, then cover the fallen watchers and the flood. After that, we'll break down the perfect solar calendar, dive into sacred blood and divine covenants, and finally wrap up with holy Sabbaths versus pagan errors. All right, let's jump right into Section 1, Creation of the Divine Order, specifically looking at the first 6 days. Now, the text reveals something incredible right off the bat. Creation wasn't just this raw physical event. It was the establishment of a highly structured celestial bureaucracy. On day 1, the Creator didn't just make the heavens and the earth and call it a day. He immediately appointed specific, highly specialized angelic classes to govern literally every single element and season. We're talking about spirits of fire, spirits of the winds, of clouds, snow, hail, and even the changing of the seasons. This laid down an absolute, unshakable foundation of divine order way before humanity even stepped onto the stage.
Following this massive angelic appointment, the text outlines a very methodical sequence for the first 6 days. It's like a cosmic step-by-step master plan. On the second day, the waters are divided. On the third, dry land, seas, and the Garden of Eden appear. The fourth day brings the sun, moon, and stars, and this is absolutely crucial, strictly for exact timekeeping. Then sea creatures and birds, and finally, on the sixth day, land animals and mankind. This meticulously constructed order culminates right before the ultimate sacred rest of the Sabbath.
Which brings us to Section 2, Enoch, time, and early patriarchs, the keepers of knowledge. As early human history started unfolding, this incredibly complex divine structure needed to be recorded, right? Mankind desperately needed a way to document these heavenly systems so they wouldn't be lost. And that leads us to a crucial patriarch, Enoch. Now, he wasn't just a distant ancestor in this text, he was humanity's very first scribe. The record tells us Enoch spent 6 full Jubilees living face-to-face with the angels, learning the precise mathematical movements of the sun and the stars. Why? So that humanity would have a written guide and not lose their way. And by using the text's sacred Jubilee date markers, which, by the way, measure time in unbroken sequences of weeks of years, we can visually trace this entire chain of celestial knowledge. We start all the way back at Adam's creation in the very first Jubilee, move down through Seth to Enoch, born in the year 522, and we can anchor this epic history straight down to Noah's birth in the 15th Jubilee. It is a completely unbroken lineage of divine record keepers.
But things don't stay perfect, which leads to Section 3, Fallen Watchers and the Flood, the corruption of flesh.
So that absolute tranquility of the divine order, it was abruptly shattered. Cosmic chaos was literally brought down to earth by spiritual beings known as the Watchers. These Watchers committed the ultimate transgression. Originally, they were sent down to instruct humanity in uprightness, but instead, they totally broke the boundary between heaven and earth. They took human wives, fathered a race of violent giants, and this massive breach unleashed demonic seductions, forbidden knowledge, and horrific bloodshed. Everything, men, beast, birds, completely corrupted their natural ways.
So, you gotta ask yourself, with the entire natural order flipped upside down and the earth completely polluted by the blood spilled by these giants, how could the Creator possibly cleanse this ultimate spiritual and physical corruption? Well, the answer, as the ancient scribes recorded, was the devastating Great Flood. The floodgates of heaven poured out for 40 days, and the waters prevailed for 150 days. It was a catastrophic, complete reset of the world. It washed away the abominations, saved only the righteous heart of Noah and his family, and permanently bound those fallen watcher angels in the dark depths of the earth until the final day of great judgment.
Okay, moving to Section 4, the perfect solar calendar, mathematics of the heavens.
After the floodwaters finally receded, the earth was given a fresh start, and the scrolls reveal that humanity was given incredibly strict astronomical rules to prevent them from ever falling back into that chaotic era. I want you to burn this number into your memory, 364. According to the Book of Jubilees, this is the mathematically perfect number of days in the divine solar calendar commanded by the heavens. Not 365, not a varying lunar cycle, but exactly, precisely 364 days.
And this right here builds the absolute core conflict of the text. On one hand, you have the sacred, unwavering solar calendar, exactly 52 perfect weeks, representing absolute divine order. It keeps earthly festivals perfectly aligned with how the angels celebrate them up in heaven. But in total opposition to that, you have the human error of observing the moon. The text strongly warns that following the lunar calendar shifts the year 10 days too soon. This mathematical error totally confounds holy days with unclean days, and it leads directly back into pagan blindness.
Now, let's look at Section 5, Sacred Blood and Divine Covenants, the Law of Life.
With the flow of time mathematically protected by that solar calendar, the ancient historians' focus shifts to the severe, unyielding physical laws required to maintain this post-flood covenant. Listen closely to this terrifying warning given to Noah. The text establishes an absolute, eternal prohibition against eating blood. It explicitly states that the very soul, the literal life of all living creatures, resides within the blood itself.
Defiling blood isn't just some dietary mistake in this ancient worldview, it carries massive spiritual weight. Consuming blood immediately breaks the eternal covenant and roots a person out of the land forever. Innocent bloodshed physically pollutes the earth, and demons actively use blood rituals to seduce men into paganism. The text makes it absolutely clear. Sacrificial blood must be respectfully poured on the altar or covered with dust.
Which brings us to our final part. Section 6. Holy Sabbaths versus pagan errors, the separation of the faithful.
To completely insulate the faithful from these demonic traps and the chaotic errors of the surrounding nations, the heavenly tablets mandated incredibly strict boundaries. Take the Sabbath, for example. It was not merely a polite suggestion for a day of rest. Keeping it holy by not preparing food, drawing water, carrying burdens, or traveling was an uncompromising law of survival. Profaning it was a transgression punishable by death. It was a holy sign exclusively shared between the Creator, His highest angels, and His chosen people.
Furthermore, strict physical markers were instituted to visibly and permanently separate the children of the covenant from the lawlessness of the outside world. Circumcision on the exact 8th day was totally non-negotiable. Missing it meant a person belonged to the children of destruction and had broken that eternal bond.
So these final instructions, passed down from Abraham to Isaac, really summarize the ultimate demand of the text: absolute purity. This meant rejecting all idols, never eating with pagan nations, strictly washing before approaching the altar, and even using only specific, approved woods like cypress, almond, or cedar for holy altar fires. Every single detail mattered to maintain that divine order. So, what does this all mean for us? As we close this explainer on the Book of Jubilees, the ancient text leaves us with a truly provocative thought. We've seen the sheer tragedy of the Watchers, the cleansing of the flood, and the gift of that perfect 364-day calendar. Yet human history seems to be an endless cycle of forgetting. Despite the strict laws and the incredible celestial wisdom written down by Enoch, will humanity ever truly align its timeline and actions with the perfection of the heavens, or are we destined to forever repeat the catastrophic errors of our ancestors? Keep asking those hard questions, keep studying the past, and I'll see you in the next explainer.